What's up everyone, Adam from Cape Crawlers, and today we're putting TWO Reefs 179 servos on our Axial SCX24 deadbolt. Welcome back to the channel everybody. Got a super fun video for you today. We're going to put up some major steering power on our SCX24 deadbolt. SNAGGLETOOTH the deadbolt is getting some serious upgrades. We have got two Reefs 179 programmable micro servos that we're going to put on this thing, front and back. We're going to have dual Reefs servos on here running at 8.4 volts. It's going to be nuts. But before we get to that, I got to give a couple shout outs. First, to my man Enix for calling me out in the Furitek Ultimate video and ultimately convincing me that I had to stop wasting my time with cheap servos. If it wasn't for you, Enix, I would not have pulled the trigger on these. So shout out to Enix. Check him out. I'll link up his video that really convinced me to pull the trigger on these in the description down below. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out on Instagram too and give him some love. I'll put his username up right here. And second, got to give a huge shout out to Reefs RC for hooking us up with these things. I reached out to Reefs to see if they'd be interested in a collaboration, and they hooked me up with these two servos. Also a bunch of swag, some tools, some great stuff. So huge thank you to Reefs for being so generous and for really making this video possible. So with that, why don't we jump in here and take a closer look at these awesome servos. All right, look at these things. First off, I noticed right out of the gate was how the attention to detail with the packaging. Man, these things came in like this like almost velvet packaging here. Beautifully laid out, these nice hard cases. Definitely a beautiful presentation of these products. You know, it's tough to spend $80 on a servo for these things, you know. The upgrades for the SCX24 are generally pretty cheap. So I've always had a hard time with servos, and I've never bit the bullet on pricey servos. And like I said, I probably wouldn't have if it wasn't for Enix there, and also Reefs really stepping up and helped me out here. So I'm really excited to try these. I have never tried a servo with as much juice as these things have. The most powerful servo I've ever tried is the Emax Digital or the EcoPower Digital. So these things are going to be a whole new level. So let's take a look at these things. Aside from the glorious looking packaging and just the 5-star treatment that these servos get in this really nice soft velvety casing, the servos themselves look fantastic. They've got this nice matte black casing with the stainless in here and the Reefs logo and the printing on here. Everything looks great. They feel really solid in the hand. These are going to be excellent. Now these are programmable, so there is an optional kit that you can buy. You can plug into this connection and you can actually program these. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to run them as servos. But it is a pretty cool feature. So that's one of the things when you step up from the Reefs 99 to the 179, you get that programmable feature. As far as speed goes, these things are very fast. We're going to be running it on the 8.4 volts, which we can do on the Lizard Ultimate. It's a 0.06 speed at that voltage. So these things should be ripping. But just a great looking piece of hardware here. Love the black, love the looks. They feel, like I said, they feel very, very solid. So I'm super excited to try these things out. So I'm going to get to installing these front and back, and then we'll give them a whirl. Let's check it out. So I've got the rear done, getting ready to do the front. Before I did, I figured I'd do a quick size comparison here so you can see the difference in the Emax servo that I've taken out versus the Reefs. So you can see it's significantly longer, much, much longer in the back. So right off the bat, one of the things I had to do was upgrade my rear servo mount, which I'll show you in a minute here when we get to doing the overview. But the stock modified tray that I was using before was not going to fit. So this is a much, much longer, beefier servo for sure. So just wanted to show you that real quick. If you've ever been curious what the size difference was, I didn't realize it was that significant. So that was eye-opening to me. But just want to show you guys real quick. Done with the back. Now I'm going to move on to the front, and then we'll fire this thing up. All right, my friends. Here we go. Dual Reefs 179s hooked up. We should be good to go. Let me make sure that, yep, we got 4-wheel steer. Oh, oh my God. Look at it. This is nuts. It is so fast. What the heck? Oh my gosh, this is insane. It's like it's having a seizure almost. Front only. Wow. Holy cow, look how fast that thing is. Wow. Rear side. I think the rear is even faster. Look at the rear. Oh my gosh, I'm giggling like a mad scientist here. Wow, this thing's intense. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Ultimate snaggletooth here. Let's take a look. So I'll show you what I had to do. Murphy's Law was beating us up with this one for sure. None of my mounts fit. So what I had to do was use both of my Mofo RC best servo mount evers. And thankfully I had two of them because I was planning on doing two other builds. So I had to use both of my Mofo RC mounts front and back because the Samix in the front was not fitting. And I had a modified stock tray in the back. So I think that was obvious that wasn't going to fit. A couple other things to note is that these beautiful servo horns here that Reefs also sent fit perfectly on here and look amazing, but the 1.3 millimeter screws don't thread through it. So I had to put little tiny nuts on the other side of the bolt that comes through the steering arm. And as you can see, I already lost one just from playing with this here. So I've got to think of a different setup to attach the horns to the steering linkage. Front seems to have held up pretty well. I maybe just do some little bit of blue Loctite on there, something to just keep those on there solid. See if I can get a better shot of the mount here. So what the Mofo mount does is a couple things. It's got these adjustable mounts here. So I can put these way out to the front to fit this big servo on here. And then it also allows the servo to fit over the top of the linkage mounts. So that's how you're able to fit this big boy in here, front and back, because it slides over the linkage and still allows you to mount it underneath. And those adjustable servo mounts really allow you to tuck this in where you need it. So these best servo mount evers are indeed the best servo mounts ever. And I'm so glad that I had a couple of these on hand. I'm going to have to restock, but definitely recommend this mount if you're going to go with a bigger servo like this. Just a couple other key takeaways before we get this out on the course and really run it and see what it's like in a real world scenario. I'm blown away by the speed. I mean, these things are unbelievably fast. It's insane. And they're also virtually silent. So it was very almost spooky. It was moving so fast, but the servos make hardly any noise whatsoever. It was crazy. And a couple other things I just had to do with the Lizard Ultimate. I had to back off my endpoints. I had it set at 100 with the Emaxes, but I had to dial it back because I feel like it was going too far and it was kind of freaking out the Lizard. So it would almost feel like it was shorting out. So I'm still kind of tweaking my endpoints here. I've got the endpoints at 95%. I might dial that back a little bit more only because these things are so powerful. I want to make sure that I'm not breaking anything or going too far. But thankfully I can do that really easy on the Avatar. So otherwise, man, these things are mighty impressive. Very, very cool. They look fantastic in here, front and back. So cool seeing those things on both ends. It is amazing. So why don't I stop talking here? Let's get this thing on the course. I am going to see if I can work out a different solution for my mounting points here because, like I said, I've already lost that little nut. So I'm going to sort this out and then we'll get it on the course and just do some playing around. Let's take mighty ultimate snaggletooth out here on the indoor course with the 8.4 volt set up on the Lizard Pro. Oh my gosh, that steering is outrageous. God, the steering is so fast. It's like instantaneous. They're so quiet too. Like the servos make next to no noise. It's almost spooky. I'm getting hung up on the body there. I think I'm gonna have to trim the fenders a little more. The speed is nuts. I'm really happy with how they fit in the chassis. I mean, those mofo mounts are truly a thing of beauty. The way they sit over the linkage and make these things fit like so snug and perfect, I love it. They look fantastic in there. What an awesome setup. Lots of places in the course saying I don't really need the four-wheel steer. Look at that. Holy cow. It's just fun to play around with. Probably do better in a lot of these places without it, but it's just so amazing to watch these things at work, these servos. Here's a good place where I want it here. Oh, gee. Wall ride action. Ultimate Snaggletooth. What do you think? Man, this build has just gone to a whole nother level. This is just nuts. It really makes sense now with the Lizard Ultimate, that extra output. I think if you've got the big servos, that 8.4 voltage is definitely worth the step up in the cost. So the whole package just makes more sense now. And the servos, holy moly, these things are nuts. They're just so fast. I'm like stunned how quick they are. It's virtually instantaneous. I know I've said that probably 5 times in this video, but it just blows my mind how fast these things are. I mean, it's just bam! It is nuts how quick they are. So huge shout out to Reefs for making an awesome product and sending these over for me to try. I really appreciate it, and I am so hooked on these servos. I can't wait to put them in more builds. These things are just monsters. And Enix, thank you so much for putting me over the edge. You convinced me to take the plunge, and I'm so glad I did. This was so much fun, and I'm really glad I got to share my initial reactions and my first impressions of these things live with you guys. It's always fun to be jumping into new stuff and expanding my horizons and getting to share the authentic reactions with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was cool. Let me know your thoughts down below. Have you run these servos before? What's your go-to servo? I want to hear from you guys for sure. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so, and I'll see you in the next video.